Before we get into the video, don't forget to check out the channel sponsors, both Dueling Guard and Imperium Duelist. Using the code you see on screen or my link in the description down below, you can not only get a discount on your purchase, but also help to support the channel so that I can continue to bring you some amazing content. What's up, Duelists? Super Insane 18 here, and today we are going to be discussing what a lot of people are anticipating to be the #1 deck of the upcoming format, and that is going to be Vanquish Soul K9. Today we are going to show you not only the deck profile, but a combo at the end, so make sure that you are staying till the end so that you can see that. But not just that, we will also be having a dedicated combo tutorial releasing a couple of days after this, so make sure you have your notifications on for that. Let's jump into the profile. Of course, we have our 3 copies of Vanquish Soul Dr. Madlove, and our 3 copies of Vanquish Soul Rosin. Now, these are pretty much the extenders for your deck because they are the cards that can search you, the cards that will either let you play or get you into the other cards that will let you play, but we'll talk about those as we go on. We are on 3 copies of Halisu, probably one of the most important, if not the most important Vanquish Soul monsters, being able to summon itself from your hand as a quick effect, as well as being able to either take a monster your opponent controls or summon a monster from your deck, so really good utility and really good extension from this one as well. We are on 3 copies of Xiaolong. Now, Xiaolong historically has pretty much been a 2 of, however, it's a lot more important in the K9 variant because it is a level 5, which you will see in the combos is incredibly important. Then we have our 2 copies of Heavy Borger and our 1 copy of Caesar Valiant, and that is going to actually finish up the Vanquish Soul monsters. On to the K9s, we of course have our 3 copies of K9 17 Izuna. This card is really cool. All of the K9s have the same effect of being able to normal summon if your opponent has has 2 or more cards in their hand. But more importantly than that, if your opponent activates any cards from their hand, you can go ahead and special summon this, which means you can play on turn 0 if your opponent goes first. And on its summon, it can send you any of your K9 monsters to the graveyard, which is very important for the next card, which is going to be the K9 00 Lupus. Now, Lupus is really good because it can summon itself from the hand or graveyard on the turn that your opponent has activated a monster effect in hand or graveyard, but not just that, it can also quick Xyz on your opponent's turn, and any card that is made using it as Xyz material becomes untargetable by your opponent's card effects, so it is very strong. We are on 3 copies of K9 66A Jockle. This is just extension for the deck as well, being able to summon itself into any level 5 from your hand. And finishing up the monsters, we have our K9 66B Lantern. This is again more extension, being able to summon from the graveyard, and you'll see that in the combos as well. We do have some hand traps, of course. We are on 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Not only is this just the most generic hand trap that you can be playing, it is very important because it is a fire attribute, and all of the Vanquish Soul monsters need to be able to reveal specific attributes, fire being one of the most important ones. We then have a set of Charmies with our 3 copies of Fuwalos and our 3 copies of Perulia. Unfortunately, the Charmies do not play into the attributes that you need, but they're still incredibly strong cards, and this deck has no problem breaking boards, so the more cards that you can see, the better, especially if these cards are forcing your opponent to end on a half board, so I think it's very important to play those as well. Onto the spells, we have 3 copies of Stake Your Soul. This is pretty much the E-Telly equivalent for this deck, being able to reveal an attribute and then summon a Vanquish Soul monster from your deck with the same attribute. And then we have our 1 copy of Vanquish Soul Start, which is what actually turns Madlove into a starter. Previously, Madlove was actually not a starter, but with the release of Start, you can go ahead and search pretty much anything. More often than not, it's going to be something like Halisu. It just depends on the rest of your hand, but an incredible card to continue your plays. We have a couple of K9 cards, of course, with our A Case for K9 and Forced Release. These are just consistency and interruption cards that you can access with the K9 engine. And then we have our 1 copy of Called by the Grave. Finishing up the deck at 40 cards is going to be the Vanquish Soul Snow Devil. You are able to recur a lot of your resources and load your hand with pretty much the exact attributes that you need, so this card ends up being very strong, and of course you can actually set it from your deck during the end phase with something like the effect of Vanquish Soul Start, so it's very important to have as well, but let's show you guys the extra. Now, for the extra deck, we are on 2 copies of Rock the Vanquisher. You never need more than 2. I know that originally Vanquish Soul was playing 3 of these, but you just don't really really have enough extra deck spots anymore because of all of the utility cards you have to run for your brand new rank 5 engine. And then the last Link monster that we are playing is an SP Little Knight, just because it's SP Little Knight and it is very, very good. Moving on to the Xyz monsters, we of course have 2 copies of K917 Ripper. This card is incredible because not only does it allow you to search for your K9 cards, but it also negates an effect in your opponent's hand, meaning that this can negate your opponent's hand traps. And in a lot of the combos, you actually make this either as your 5th summon or before your 5th summon, meaning that a lot of these combos do not care about something like Nibiru as well. We are on 1 copy of 00 Hound, and then the 1 copy of the K9X Werewolf. The Werewolf is a little bit more important because it actually acts as a pseudo interruption. You'll be able to summon it from your deck on your opponent's turn with the Forced Release, and Forced Release is also going to pop a card. So by summoning the Werewolf, you get to pop a card from the Forced Release, and then you also get to rip a card out of your opponent's hand with the effect of the Werewolf. So you're essentially getting 2 interruptions off of it, which is really, really cool. We have our 1 copy of Vanquish Soul Rocks, and then we have a little bit of a weird 4-card engine here. We have our Nash Knight, our number 104 Masquerade, our CXYZ Nash Knight, and the number 104 Umbral Horror Masquerade. Now, this is a really, really strong engine. Nash Knight can actually just be an interruption on your opponent's turn if you end your board on it, being able to steal one of their cards. But what a lot of the combos are going to do turn 1 is you're actually going to use the Nash Knight, rank it up into the CXC's Nash Knight, and then using the CXC's effect, we're going to go into the Umbral Horror. And Umbral Horror is an absurd card because on summon you can pop a Spell Trap, which you actually pop your own case for K9, which will get you the Forced Liberation set. But it is also a monster effect negate that not only negates the monster, it also rips a card out of your opponent's hand and halves their life points. And with all of that, if that wasn't good enough, you can actually make this with something like the Lupus, making it completely untargetable as well. So just very, very strong, and you will see that in some of the combos. We then have the 1 copy of Paradise Smasher. This is a turn skip. A lot of people are waiting for this card to get banned, and rightfully so. This is one of those cards that says if your opponent does anything to you, skip their turn, and then you pretty much just win the game. And there will be combos for that in the upcoming combo tutorial, not at the end of this video, but make sure you stay tuned for it. And then we have our 1 copy of Valen, the Super Psy Skyblaster, which is just a Book of Moon, essentially. And then, of course, we have our copy of Zeus. Since we are on such a wide array of Xyz monsters, being able to play a board wipe is absolutely incredible. So, without further ado, let's show you guys the combo. And for today's combo, we will be showcasing a 2-card combo, my actual favorite combo in the deck. And you might be questioning why there are then 3 cards on the field. That is because this is showcasing the variants that we can use. It requires the copy of Dr. Madlove and then either your Holly Sue or your Xiaolong. It does not matter which one. We're just going to go ahead and go with the Holly Sue for now, but you'll see why it doesn't matter as we continue the combo. We will start things off with the normal summon of Dr. Madlove, activating its effect to allow us and add our copy of Vanquish Soul Start to our hand. We can take the Vanquish Soul Start and activating it, utilizing its effect to target the Dr. Madlove. That will allow us to add a Vanquish Soul of a different attribute. In this case, it's going to be the Xiaolong. Now that's why it didn't matter, because you're going to be getting both regardless based on your start. We can then take our Dr. Madlove and link that off into our copy of Rock the Vanquisher, which will allow us to use the Rock the Vanquisher effect to add the Dr. Madlove back into our hand. Here we can use the effect of Holly Sue, revealing the Dr. Madlove that we have, to summon it out to our side of the field, and then now that it's on our side of the field, we can reveal a Dark and a Fire, being the Xiaolong and the Madlove, and that will allow the Holly Sue to then special summon out a Xiaolong from our deck. Now, if you were keeping track, that was 4 summons. For the 5th summon, we are going to take the Xiaolong and the Holly Sue, overlaying both into a copy of K917 Ripper. So what this does is means that we are fully insulated around something like Nibiru, because the Ripper is able to just negate monster effects that are activated in hand, so we no longer have to worry. We're going to go ahead and use the Ripper. I like to detach specifically the Holly Sue here, but that is going to allow the Ripper to then add us our copy of K96AA Jockle from our deck to our hand. We can use the effect of Jockle, revealing itself and the Xiaolong, and that will allow us to summon both to our side of the field from our hand, and then we can utilize the on-field effect of Jockle, which will allow us to add a non-Aqua K9 monster, which in this case is going to be Lantern. Here we can overlay both the Jockle and the Jiaolong into our copy of Nash Knight, and we want to make sure that we put the Jockle in the graveyard, so we are going to activate the effect of the Nash Knight, detaching both of our materials to then attach the number 104 Masquerade to it. Now, if your opponent had something on the field, maybe they were playing turn 0, you can also attach that monster to it as well, but for example's sake, we're going to say that we are just doing this into no interruptions, nothing that they have on field, so we just have the Masquerade. Now that we have the Jockle in the graveyard, we're going to go ahead and activate the Lantern targeting the Jockle. That is going to allow us to summon both the Lantern from our hand and the Jockle in our graveyard. Here we can utilize the Lantern effect to add us a Canine spell or trap. We are going to add the Case of Canine, which we can just go ahead and immediately activate, which will allow us to then add our copy of Azuna from our deck to our hand. We can take the Jockle and the Lantern, and we can overlay both of those into a copy of Valen, which gives us a flip face down interruption for our opponent's turn, but now we can continue with the Nash Knight that we summoned earlier. We're going to take the Nash Knight and we are going to overlay the Xyz Nash Knight on top of it, which is really cool because what we can do is, utilizing its effect, detaching specifically the Nash Knight, we are going to overlay into the C104 Umbral Horror Masquerade. Now, on summon, the Masquerade is going to allow us to pop the Case for Canine, which means Case for Canine will be able to set the copy of Forced Release from our deck to our side of the field, and this is going to be the end board. So what do we have? We have the Ripper, which can activate, or rather negate the activation of a hand effect. We have the Umbral Horror, which can negate a monster effect, rip a card out of our opponent's hand, as well as burn them for half of their life points. We have the Valen, which can Book of Moon or flip face down a monster that our opponent controls, which in this format is incredibly strong. We have the Rock, which can either summon out the copy of Madlove or add back the Hollysew from our grave to our hand, which is the more preferred route because you can then summon the Hollysew and use it to take control of your opponent's monster. We have the Forced Release, which will allow us to go into Werewolf over our Ripper, which also then pops a card, and then the Werewolf will be able to look at our opponent's hand and banish a card as well. So all of that interruption off of just 2 cards. The 2 cards were fully replaced, and we still have 3 left in our hand, so it's a 5-card hand on top of all of this, and I think that that is ridiculously strong. And there you guys have it. That is going to be my Vanquish Soul Canine deck profile and combo. If you want more combos, like I said, there will be more coming, so make sure that you are subscribed, hit the notification bell, like, comment, and share with your friends. I hope you guys learned something in today's video, and don't forget to check out the channel sponsors, both Dueling Guard and Imperium Duelist, using my code INSANE18 or the links in the description down below. You can not only get a discount on your order, but continue to support my channel in ways that I could never be too appreciative of. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.